Form 7 Physics, Unit 4, first term, Lesson 7C, Particle Interaction, Zoo and Forces. In this video, we are going to focus the below content, the understanding of why high energies are required to investigate the structures of nucleons and able to use the Einstein equation and able to use the non-SI unit of mega electron volt per c square and giga electron volt c square and their conversion with the SI units, that is kilogram, and knowing the standard quark lepton model particles there such as baryons, mesons, leptons and photons, and the symmetry, and knowing that, get to know particle has a corresponding antiparticle and able to use the properties of particle to decide or deduce the properties of antiparticles, and from particle to antiparticle, antiparticle to particle. Now, why high energies are required? So one thing is to break the structures, we need energy. Other thing, now diffraction of particles depend on their wavelength. Diffraction of particles depend on their wavelength. So if the atomic spacing is very small, so it must have a very small wavelength. So more energetic particles will have the shorter the wavelength. More energetic particles will have shorter the wavelength. Now you can see that more kinetic energy, that is more energetic, then it has more or greater momentum. If particles with the greater momentum will have, if the particle momentum is greater, so it will have the shorter wavelength. So when it is greater, the wavelength will be shorter. So then that helps to get an idea about the final detail of what we observed when it passed through the atomic structures. So it is very important to have very high energies that need to probe the very internal structures of a proton or a neutron. That is common for any other structures too, nucleons, right? When we think of creation of particle and antiparticle, it is observed that two photons get together to form particle and antiparticle. Particle and antiparticle. This is known as pair production. Particle and antiparticle to pair. So the pair production is happen with involvement of two photons. So when we think of minimum photon energy, we can say that the rest mass of the particle and antiparticle together, that is the minimum energy that a photon has, which is involving to create them. So what is this rest mass? Rest mass idea was given by the Albert Einstein as from his equation of linking energy and the mass deficit or mass difference. So energy difference is equal speed square, that is speed of light squared into change in mass. So the change in mass, if it is converted to energy, it gives energy, right? So this Einstein equation gives the idea of the relationship with mass and energy. So mass can convert to energy, energy can convert to mass from this relationship. So rest mass energy is the mass deficit or the mass difference equal to rest mass, and then when we multiply that by the speed of light square, so we get the rest mass energy. Now if we know the particle's kinetic energy which is remaining, so this is the energy converted in the process, and this is the rest mass energy of the new particle. So if there is a difference, if this is equal, the created particle will not have any kinetic energy. So if there is a difference of the energy converted in the process, subtract the rest mass energy of the new particle. So if the difference is there, so that gives an extra energy to the particle produced as kinetic energy of the new particle. That's what is observed there, right? So that's very important. In sort of calculations, you may get the idea. So the minimum kinetic energy that it must have, also we have to solve by this knowledge. So first we have to know the energy converted in the process to make the particle and get the rest mass of the particle produced, and if there is a difference, that difference goes to the new particle's kinetic energy. So when photon is produced, electron and positron in this process, so these gamma ray photons have at least much energy as combined rest mass of the electron and positron. Electron is the particle and positron is electron's antiparticle, right? So here one example is given for you. A gamma ray photon converts into electron and positron. An anti-electron which has an identical mass of the electron, that is the nature of the positron. Calculate the frequency. So when we want to have the frequency, before that we must calculate the energy. We must calculate the energy, right? This is the electron's mass, rest mass. So it multiplied by the light speed square. So then we have the rest mass of rest mass. We get the energy of one rest mass. Then the amount of energy needed is here, it is double because electron and positron, two particles are there. So we have to multiply it by 2. So this is the minimum energy that the photon has. That's what mentioned there. So there we can calculate the frequency of the photon by, as we know the energy, and once the energy is divided by the Planck constant, we get the frequency of the photon that is involved here, right? Sample problem 1. Now two gamma ray photons interact to form an electron and positron pair. Calculate the minimum energy. So the same thing, it's another example, right? So we need to calculate the energy. So we use the rest mass and multiply it by 2 as a pair. So we get the total mass, and total mass converted to energy, that is 1.64 into 10 to the power minus 13 joules. Now if the gamma ray both have the wavelength of 2.1 into 10 to the power minus 12 meters, we want to calculate the maximum kinetic energy of electron and positron together, right? So we'll get the total energy of the extra total energy that these two have. So here we can have the energy of one photon by using the energy there, that is the total energy, right? Total energy is given. Then what we have to do, H is 6.63 and Planck constant and speed of light divide by the wavelength. So we get the photon energy of 1, right? So this is the rest mass energy. Here we have calculated the energy of one photon. So as two photons involved, we can multiply it by 2, then get the total photon energy. So when you observe the total photon energy and rest mass energy, you can see there is a difference. Photon energy has been greater than the rest mass energy. So there is an extra energy. So that extra energy is transferred as the kinetic energy of the two particles produced, that is electron and positron. So if you want to have the kinetic energy of one particle, then this has to be divided 2, but here it is given as electron and positron total kinetic energy, that is having extra kinetic energy after the involvement of pair production, right? So this is the total energy of the photon, and subtract the rest mass energy, then there is a difference. So that difference converted to kinetic energy. When it comes to the particle and there is an antiparticle, that what has produced in the pair production from the two photons, particle and antiparticle. So how they are same and how they are different, we must know. So some examples given: electron, the antiparticle is positron, then proton, antiproton, neutrino, antineutrino, right? Then particle and antiparticle equal in mass and opposite in charge. Now, for instance, electron is negatively charged, antiparticle of electron is positron, that is positively charged, but the same mass, right? Then how it comes with the uncharged particles such as neutrons and neutrinos, where they does not have a charge, then how they are different, how they are antiparticle different from its particle. So how they are different is from the quark composition or lepton number, right? We will come later about this quark composition, quark and the lepton. We will discuss in the latter part of this video, right? So, and also they have found out that very little existence of antimatter with compared to matter. So the one reason is, when now it need to produce antimatter, it need vast amount of energy required to produce it, right? That is one reason. And also as it is matter is much greater existence, so matter join with antimatter and produce photons. This is the process of we have learned that two photons get together and form particle and antiparticle, what we call pair production. Now in the reverse process, when particle join with antiparticle, what happens, it produces two photons, that is called annihilation, right? Annihilation occurs when particle meet antiparticle. As I mentioned earlier, antiparticles have very short lifetime because matter is much more prevalent than antimatter. They meet together, annihilate, and to produce gamma ray photons, right? Then another interesting thing and one important thing for you to know, that is about non-SI mass units. Now we know that SI mass units is kilogram, but there are 2-3 non-SI mass units which involved in this atomic calculations and energy calculations. So the basic or the basic frame of this non-SI mass unit is this equation, Einstein equation, that is delta E equal delta m c squared. Now if we object delta m, what we get is delta E over c squared. So that he has used to describe the non-SI mass unit, right? If we use this equation, delta E change in energy is given in joules and change in mass is given in kilograms, and speed of light is given in, the value is 3 to the power 8 meters per second, that is the speed of light. So when we object delta m, we get delta E over c squared, which gives a mass unit like this. So this is the mass, and if we get the equivalent energy, the thing that you have to know is, now electron volt per c squared, the equivalent energy is of this is just electron volt. Now say for instance, if it is 5 electron volts per c square, mass is equivalent to 5 electron volt energy. Same way, now mega electron volts is little bit bigger than this, and giga electron volts is bigger than that, right? So here 10 to the power 6 and 10 to the power 9, right? Then for this example, 25 mega electron volts per c square is equal, but the equal energy of this is 25 mega electron volts. So if you know this, then you can convert the mega electron volts to electron volts to joules, and once you substitute the joules here, then after substituting speed of light, and you can get the delta m in kilograms. Let's see some examples, calculation. Now here what we are going to do, calculate the mass in kilogram of 1 mega electron volt. That is one we are selecting, 1 mega electron volt. So what we have to know, we have to know the energy of 1 mega electron volt in joules. So what we need to do first we multiplied by 10 to the power 6 to make it electron volts. So then electron volt energy in joules is 1.6 into 10 to the power minus 19. So when it multiplied by this, here this value gives the energy in joules. So once we know the energy, right? Once we know the energy, so we need to get it to convert it to kilograms. So we put the energy value and then divide by the speed of light, c squared. So then we get the answer in kilograms. That's how we convert the non-SI mass unit to SI mass unit, right? The reverse also we can work out by using the delta E equal delta M c squared equation. When we think of a structure of matter, earlier the smallest first when it found by the Dalton was the first scientist bring the concept of atom. What he has identified as atom is the smallest unit in particles. But thereafter, once the Thomson found electron and the Chadwick found neutron, like that, the things were developed. So the subatomic particles were found from the atom. Therefore, now if we think this is the atom, the diameter of 10 to the power minus 8 centimeter, the nucleus is smaller than that, that is inside. Then when we take the nucleus, inside the nucleus protons and neutrons are there, right? And its structure with a diameter of around 10 to the power minus 13, and then neutron and proton also build up of structure called quark, and the electrons are orbiting. So presently electron and quarks are considered as the fundamental particles or elementary particles. What is the meaning of that is which cannot be divisible further, undivisible, right? So when it comes to the fundamental particles, as I mentioned, the quarks, we have quarks, and the electrons are come under leptons category, right? So undivisible particle is the what we call fundamental particle or elementary particle. So the two categories, leptons and quarks. Leptons, there are 6 members, quarks, there are 6 members, right? If we take tau, muon and electron, and tau neutrino, muon neutrino and electron neutrino, then quarks stop, bottom, charm, strange, and up and down. So in lepton quark model, the symmetry of the model predict the top quark, right? The prediction as there is pairs, right? The symmetrical nature of the model predicted that there must be a particle for this, as then it called as the top quark. So when we observe the leptons, we identified the 3 generations. Now generation is now normally even the hybrid vehicles also, you may have heard that first generation, second generation, third generation, then first, second, third. What is the novel generation is the third generation. So in vehicles, here also the same. So first generation are the particles which have found earlier, then next, and then next, right? Then you can see the symbols, right? Electron with the charge that is there, because the symbol is given as E minus, because when it is come to the anti-electron, it is E plus, right? The charge is -1. Here muon is -1 and tau also -1, right? Sometimes we put it as -1 E. E means the charge of 1 electron, right? Then the electron neutrino is neutral, so no charge, and muon neutrino no charge, and tau neutrino no charge. But when you observe, you can see that when it comes to the mass is increasing, right? So the heavier particles have found later, it means that is in third generation, because to reveal the heavier particles, the scientists need more and more energy to reveal these structures, right? So then until the time comes to develop particle accelerators to generate high energy particles to collide on these structures, it has come across later. So then that is the thing that you can identify across the generation down, the mass is increasing across the generation down. So this family of leptons, there are 6 flavors, 6 types. This is what we call flavor. Then they are existing singly, and these leptons are not seen within the nucleus. So we call that weak interactions, right? When we think of quarks, right? Quarks also with 3 generations, 6 particles, up, down, and the latest findings of bottom and top. That's what with the symmetrical nature of the quark lepton model, they predict the top quark, that is the one has found last, right? And there also we can see that down the generation, first, second, third, the particle mass is increasing. So the heaviest particles have been revealed or come across the later stage, right? Here also some features are there about the quarks. When we talk about quarks, they are not exist singly. There are also 6 flavors. Not exist singly means not like leptons. They are joining with the other quarks and exist, right? We will come across that little later, right? These are with the strong nuclear force, so they can be seen within the nucleus in protons and neutrons. When we think of hadrons, that hadron is a composite particle, therefore it's not a fundamental particle, it's made from quarks. Now hadrons, there are strong interactions involved, right? Hadrons divided into 2 categories, baryons and mesons. Now baryons are made up of 3 quarks or 3 antiquarks. So if you know to express the structure of baryon, what you have to say that is it is with 3 quarks or 3 antiquarks. But when it comes to the mesons, it is made up of 1 quark and 1 antiquark. So if it says as 1 quark or antiquark, it is wrong, right? 1 quark or antiquark is wrong because it has 2 quarks. It has 2 quarks, so it is how it exists as 1 quark and 1 antiquark, not 2 quarks. If it says 2 quarks, it can mean as 1 quark and another quark. So it is not the situation. It is quark and 1 antiquark, not 2 quarks, right? Though the 2 quarks are there. One is quark and one is antiquark. So these are the examples: proton, neutron, sigma, omega, lambda. Here some examples is given: pion and kaon, right? So don't forget that photons also consider as a fundamental particle, as it plays a major important role in subatomic interactions. So it classified as a fundamental particles that is a fundamental particle of electromagnetic spectrum, right? So here are some examples, the structures of atomic particles, subatomic particles. Here proton, the structure is UUD, you have to remember this as proton, is important. And neutron, here UUD, here neutron is UDD, right? UDD, and here UUD, right? And antiproton, when it comes to the antiproton, this up quark is with anti, then how we are expressed that with the bar on top, right? All the particles and antiparticles, we put a bar over it, right? Down quark, anti-down, up, anti-up, right? This is the difference, right? Then neutron, right? Neutron structure, when it's come to the antineutron, then it has to be anti-up, anti-down, and anti-down. 2 anti-downs and 1 anti-up. So when it comes to the kaon, right? One example, that D bar with U. So this is antiquark and this is quark. That's the feature of meson, consists of quark and antiquark. Here also the meson, quark and antiquark. Another meson, quark and antiquark. Another meson, quark and antiquark, right? If you want to get it the antiparticle of this, then this antiquark will be quark and this quark will be antiquark. That's how it expresses. K meson is a particle with one strange quark. That's the specialty with this. That's why we are talking about K meson, right? Kaon. Sometimes we call kaon or K meson, right? K plus U S bar, K minus U bar S, K0 there are two, this or this. So if this is the situation, D S bar and D bar S. See the difference is the changing of the both sides, right? And pion, we are talking about pion as the lightest meson, right? Lightest meson. So there are four particles, pion plus, pion minus, and pion 0, this or that, right? Okay, it exists. So no need to memorize these structures, but it is useful sometimes to have a fair idea when you deal with examination questions. So I have listed down 3 questions for homework, so you can work it out them, right, and to improve your knowledge, right. So this is the energy conversion is there, and also with some involvement with energy, right. And here the different thing, that is conservation of momentum involved. So I have listed down some of the links and you to watch. Thank you, and we'll meet again with another interesting video. Thank you.